Watch Who?
Hello, and welcome to Watch Who, a Doctor Who podcast. I'm Mark.
I'm Sarah.
And I'm a Doctor Who fan.
And I am new to watching Who.
Yeah, watching these episodes for the very first time.
Very first time.
And you have, well, congratulations, you have watched your whole first Doctor. You've completed the first Doctor.
I've completed a Doctor.
A Doctor, that's what I meant to say. You've completed a Doctor.
You can't say you've completed a very first Doctor. That's the first and only time I will complete the first Doctor.
Yes.
Yeah.
I see what you mean now. Yeah, you know what I mean. We're not going back. We're carrying on.
Yeah, we are. God, please don't make me go back.
So, yeah, there was a 10th planet last week. And to round off the first Doctor out, we've actually watched something in colour.
I know, yeah.
So we did An Adventure in Space and Time, the anniversary biopic about William Hartnell and the creation of Doctor Who itself.
Yeah.
I thought it would be a nice
break for me.
A little break, just to go back and look back on the first Doctor that we've seen, and it's such a great docudrama. It just fits perfectly at this point.
Yeah, it's nice. It's really nice.
But before we go into that, I've got a few little updates. Okay. We don't always do updates.
I never know.
Do you want the next Katrina update?
You tell me the updates as you want to tell them.
So last time I was talking about I got in touch with Katrina from primary school.
Yeah.
Whose dad...
Not Katerina.
Not Katerina. Not to be confused with our favourite Katerina. I got in touch with Katrina, didn't I? And her dad did work on Doctor Who and dropped some rocks on the Daleks. And we were waiting to find out which story it was. Mm-hmm. So I've heard back. Right,
here we go. Drum roll, please.
So where were we last time? Here we go. So I said, thanks for getting back to me. I didn't say how are you or anything.
As I told you to.
She says, I'm going to just read out. Apparently it was in Destiny of the Daleks.
So that's to come as
So that is a 70s one, a much later one, a fourth Doctor story. So it's later than I thought. But he stresses his role was very minor. He was a junior on the management side of the BBC, and he had to occasionally go and be peripherally involved with production as it was happening on the ground as part of a keeping everyone working together strategy.
Okay.
So he was given the string for dropping the rocks as his one big contribution and failed to pull the string.
Oh, dear.
She put an emoji there.
Which emoji?
Like a tongue-out emoji.
Oh, nice.
As he was based in the BBC Annex rather than White City at the time, he did also spend some time, while on the subject, reminiscing about the shelves of discarded reels he used to walk past every day and the many missing episodes they would have contained. ... So then I was like, I can't believe you mentioned missing episodes. That's what I was thinking about. And I said thanks and everything. And she said that he was very impressed that I managed to remember after over 2 decades.
Aww.
So there we go. So it was Destiny of the Daleks.
Well, when
Finally,
we get to that,
after all this time, I've remembered that.
Well, when we get to that moment,
we can look out of that, and I'll reference that. I'm gonna have to look that up and see the rocks falling. I can't remember that. So there we go.
Maybe it didn't happen. That's
I'm just taking Katrina's word for it.
Well, he missed the string, didn't he? They didn't fall.
So there we are. That is the Katrina story complete after all this time.
I'm really happy that you got in touch and it was a positive ending.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, I haven't said anything else since, really. I think that's our conversation over with now. So maybe Katrina's listening, but anyway.
Or Katrina's dad.
Or Katrina's dad, yeah. So thank you very much. Also, I was just putting some notes together for this just before we recorded. Right, Can you remember the Smugglers we did a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah.
I know you didn't want to ever go back to the Smugglers.
No.
Remember the character of Blake? The one that came and saved...
Yeah.
You like Blake, yeah?
He was all right, yeah.
Do you know, he has been in Doctor Who before.
Right.
And I had no idea until I realised it was the same actor.
Was he?
And you will not believe who he was.
Was he Nicholas? Oh, go on.
He was Thotoxel, the Aztecs' Panto villain. With the black thing across.
No way!
I had no idea that he was in Yeah, I know. So I know this isn't a factual podcast. I have said that before. So don't come here for your Doctor Who facts. And we never really state them. But yeah, I couldn't believe I had to tell you that.
Yeah.
It's the Toxel. Blake and the Toxel.
Yeah.
It's the same person. I know probably everyone listening already knows that.
We didn't.
We did not know that. So I just wanted to share that fact with you. And the only other update as well is if I've done my dates right for when this episode goes out, you'll have until the end of today to get your competition retweet out to win the 10th Planet audio box set.
Oh, yeah.
That we mentioned last week. So
I forgot about that.
Yeah, so that's on Twitter. Just all you've got to do is retweet our 10th Planet episode tweet and you'll be in the prize draw and we'll announce that in a couple of weeks' time.
Ooh, look at you.
Yeah. Right, so shall we get on to Adventure in Space and Time?
Yeah, let's.
So I think I've recovered from the emotion. We did watch it a few days ago.
Yes, we've had chance.
I always find it an emotional watch. I think all fans like this.
Yeah, I can imagine why.
Like, I don't think anyone's like, oh, that's a terrible drama or
It's
anything.
really lovely and it's touching, and watching the first Doctor and so much of it, I appreciate it.
Yes, yeah, we couldn't have watched it any sooner. Or you have actually, now we've watched all through those episodes.
Yeah,
and the recreation of those moments.
like we had a good laugh actually at some things. I don't know whether you've laughed at them in the same way, like the bumblebees, but that's quite nice because it's things that we've experienced together through this podcast, and now I'm watching that. It like you say, it's quite nice reference points. So yeah.
So it was made for the 50th anniversary in 2013, and obviously it's those last 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's really lovely.
Yeah, it's so nice. And also, I'm just going to say there'll be spoilers discussed in this. I know we don't usually say that, but I want to say that because of the ending of this.
Yeah.
Because it really did. It was such a surprise at the time.
Yeah.
First watching that, not knowing that moment was coming up.
Yeah, it was a surprise to me too. So yeah.
And watching it with you, I was sort of looking at you being like, I wonder if you remember that moment or that character. And obviously Susan, Ian and Barb are recreated in The Unearthly Child and all of that stuff. And we have sort of talked a little bit about the making of that. I didn't realise it started off so much about Verity Lambert, the first producer. It's sort of her story to begin with, and then it slowly goes over to William Hartnell.
It feels like it's a story more about the making of Doctor Who than about William Hartnell.
Yeah, I mean, it was put out for, the general audience that aren't fans, that don't know. But obviously, as fans, there's those moments in there for people that know the stories really well. But it works on its own as someone that maybe hasn't seen Doctor Who. I
think as someone new to this, you would be completely fine watching it. I thought of it more as like the making of Doctor Who, which is why things like The Producer were so heavily featured. But you can't get away from the fact that the first Doctor was part of the making of this.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, Doctor Who is the Doctor.
Oh, of course, yeah, and it's how that character was created. And there's a lot, actually, the first 3 quarters really is just making the first episode. Yeah. And then it sort of goes along quite quickly towards the end to the 10th Planet.
I mean, they talk about, like, the Doctor not being as with it, but they don't talk about that from a production side. And actually, what it moves to is a regeneration element. So it is a pure from what I took it as, it's a pure production thing. It's, the idea, the start, the making of it, into how do we change and continue it. And the Doctor's just part of that journey, the actor. He's cast, he isn't that fussed about it. He then starts to enjoy it, and then things change, and how do we change this? He has to go, and he realises what it means to him, which is why the ending is so nice in a way, because it's the future of it. That's how I saw it anyway. I didn't see it as like William Hartnell's story. I saw it as the story of Doctor Who.
Well, I've sort of focused, I think, on the William Hartnell aspect of it. I think because a lot of the moments in there, because I've read so many interviews and watched so many audio commentaries and, everything, they're all little bits from those interviews and stuff to make this documentary. So I'm like, I know who told that story about this bit happening. That kind of thing. I think as a fan, you watch it maybe in a slightly different way.
Yeah.
What did you think about David Bradley as William Hartnell and Susan, Ian and Barbara? did the Ian live up to your...
No.
No, you didn't. Or you didn't like it.
But, well, Ian is Ian, isn't he? He's, you were pointing out to me, weren't you, who the real...
Oh, so there's real... Ian, William Russell makes a cameo.
I did not spot that at all.
No.
You kept saying
he's got
it.
A moustache, hasn't he?
Yeah, that's what was
recognisable.
throwing me.
Yeah.
The moustache.
But when they're recreating those moments, like, what did you did you remember those moments? I know it was a while ago when we watched the first one.
Yeah.
But did you also...
Oh, yeah.
Appreciate,
Yeah, completely. But like I say, it was interesting that they weren't a feature of the story as such.
They weren't in it as much, were they?
No. They...
Oh,
and if you think about it,
you could do a film on the making of every single Doctor Who story, probably.
Yeah, but that almost, for me, watching it, that's kind of why I felt it wasn't about it was more about the production and the story of Doctor Who than the characters, than the people, because actually, as we know, there were points where those characters carried that story and would be more featured.
Yeah.
What it talked about was they entered and then they left. It didn't even feature Ian and Barbara leaving.
I know. I imagine, and I liked the way that they did that press call with Caroline Ford and William Russell and Jacqueline Hill, and they're all there having the drinks and everything. And you see when Caroline Ford leaves, obviously that's a big moment because that's the first of the cast leaving.
Yeah.
So that has an impact on William Hartnell. And then as it goes through, you do see glimpses of the other companions, don't you?
Yeah, yeah.
That was nice.
The Ben was awful.
And you said you're like, Ben and Polly were not great.
Well, no, Polly wasn't too bad. Ben was not great. Ben did not look like Ben. We both said, though, we were like, Susan was badly cast, but on the camera, it did look like Susan.
When they recreated it, yeah.
Yeah, on camera, like, it was pretty good. But, like...
My thing, I realised, Stephen has the wrong stripy jumper. When you saw Stephen, Dodo in that outfit from Celestial Toymaker, perfect recreation.
Yeah.
That stripy jumper is not correct, and the Stephen didn't look like Stephen.
No.
It's quite nice, though, just to see those moments and those characters. We didn't get a Katerina moment, though.
Well, of course not. Of course we didn't. She's not a character.
Imagine if there was a press call with Katerina.
But she's not she wasn't a person, Mike. She wasn't a main character.
Vicky had a rescue... outfit on.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can't go in and have scenes. It would be so amazing to have other moments later on.
Yeah.
Imagine any of Dalek's Master Plan recreated. That would be cool. Shame that no Katerina or Sarah Kingdom even.
Well, no, because they weren't.
I know, but it would have been cool to have
that almost
moment
proves
recreated.
it even more. That proves the point even more, Mark. Just saying.
Or if they were filming the Christmas episode or something, that would have been cool.
Yeah. But for me, that's not what it was. Me watching it, like, first time, and also, like you said, we're coming to it from different perspectives.
Yeah.
You've watched you've watched a lot more in detail other things to be watching it from that perspective and taking in more. Me watching it was seeing the development of Doctor Who.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, just one more moment I would love to see recreated. Imagine if it was the Time Meddler and they were Stephen and Edith and Vicky.
No.
Imagine that.
No.
This is the end of the first Doctor's time. I've got to get an Edith reference in there. Or Keys of Marinus in colour.
No, none of them.
Modern in colour.
None of them.
Oh.
None of them.
Yeah.
But... going back to the Doctor and the actor that played the Doctor, I thought he was brilliant.
David Bradley is great, and he's in. Do you know him from other stuff?
No, I can't think.
Obviously, he's the caretaker guy in Harry Potter. I don't know what the.
Oh yes, of course he is. Yeah.
He's in loads of stuff. I met him at London Comic Con. He was. Oh, I forgot. I'll show you the picture afterwards.
Okay,
it's a good picture.
Okay.
So I went up to him, and he was really chatty, and he's really engaged with. He knows his Doctor Who because he does audio like that original cut, that cast that they got, the Susan Ian and Barbara and him, they do audio stories now as them. I've got all of them.
Yeah.
So he's still very much involved in Doctor Who.
Yeah.
I always get the title mixed up. It's An Adventure in Space and Time. I keep wanting to say it's An Adventure in Time and Space.
Yeah.
So he was at his table signing, and it's got David Bradley from An Adventure in Space and Time behind him. And I went up to him and I was like, "Oh, I really, really love you in." And I was like, and I had to look sort of behind him and read it, An Adventure in Space and Time. And I was like, I cry every single time I watch it. And he was like, oh, and sort of looked a bit like, and he was like, I'm really glad that you found the emotion in it.
Even though you can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, even though I can't find it. I was like, it's so good. And then I asked him about the audio stuff and everything, and he signed his thing, The Doctor.
Yeah.
And it's the closest you get to meeting William Hartnell. So, and when you have photos, he does his lapel. You can do like a doctor pose if you ask him to, kind of thing. And
of course.
Yeah, he's great. Yeah. So I need to get him signed the DVD of this. I think I ran out of money that weekend and only got the one thing. What did he sign then? Oh, the photo. I just got the photo signed. That was it. Yeah. He's really great. And yeah, as I say, still going as the Doctor now.
He's great. And
he looks so much like him, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Actually, his when he recreates moments, and actually even with the audio dramas he does, he's not he doesn't say things in the way that William Hartnell would say. He's not doing an impression.
No.
He's just he looks like him a lot, and it's his own interpretation. So some of the lines, when I first watched this, I was like, oh, that's not like how William Hartnell would do it. When he does the speech from Dalek Invasion of Earth, one day I shall come back. And
and then they show it. You see it's different.
The inflections are different. He's not doing a word for word impression.
No.
But you still get the essence of who he was and that character, don't you?
Yeah. Oh yeah, completely. I think here we go. I'm going to just say it, but in the same way that David Suchet is Poirot.
What? Okay, I didn't know you were going to say what.
He very much so I don't know how much so David Suchet is Poirot.
Okay.
When he took on, he played Poirot for years.
Yeah. I don't know where this is going.
So I love Poirot. So he's the ultimate Poirot for me. So before he took it on, he read loads of Poirot, and he met Agatha Christie's daughter, I think, or anyway, and she said to him, Poirot isn't funny. He's you don't laugh at Poirot. That's what so he was like, okay. And he, from reading the books, wrote down all these mannerisms of Poirot. And then before he'd do scenes, he'd read the mannerisms and before he took each, because he did it for years, so that he was always the character was always the same. And I wonder whether in being the Doctor and almost in taking on what is quite an iconic for fans role, he must take on these sort of elements but make it his own, in the same way that sort of David Suchet, he's not mimicking, you sort of take on a beloved and make it your own. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. You add, as an actor, he brings his own stuff to it.
Absolutely. So you take these elements of this person, this character, and you honour it. You things like the lapels, them sort of elements. That is, when you look at it, that is why you think that is William Hartnell. But him doing the speeches and all that is very much him being his interpretation. That's why you see
because he's two characters. He's doing William Hartnell doing the First Doctor. Yeah,
absolutely. That's where I'm going with that.
Yeah. So. Okay, right. I don't know why Poirot. I still don't really understand Poirot, but there we go.
I'm saying, Poirot's a book, but you take on...
Like in The Crown.
But The Crown,
when you don't... Royal Family.
Yeah, let's do that one then, yes, as well. You're taking on... Yeah, because they don't look like them. None of the characters... But you believe that they are because of the way that they act them out.
Yeah, I think so. I'm sure there's probably better examples that I just can't think of.
The Crown's a good one.
The Crown and Poirot.
The Crown's a really good one, because I think when I think of
it's a docudrama, isn't it? It's the same thing with it's the same.
Yeah.
Thing.
When I think of the Queen and the recent one with Olivia Colman, I don't think she looks like the Queen.
No,
but
not at all.
I believe that she's the Queen because of the way that she acts it.
Yes, that's what it is, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, he does look like William Hartnell. And we don't know what happens behind, like in the same way that we don't with the royal family. We don't really know what happens.
No, exactly.
Behind
It's the same way. It's a crown. Yeah, this is like Doctor Who's version of the Crown, isn't it?
Yeah. That's better than Poirot.
Yeah.
I just really like Poirot. I just really like Poirot. I don't know why that. It just popped in my head.
Do you like Miss
Poirot.
Marple? I think I'm more of a Miss Marple person.
I do like Miss Marple. I just really love Poirot.
With this though, because like I say, there's lots of elements that come from interviews from people that work with William Hartnell, and his granddaughter wrote that book about him, so there's lots of elements of that. So the research has been done very well. I feel like it is pretty true to life. And like we said last time with the 10th Planet, like Annika Wills was saying that William Hartnell was very difficult to work with. Obviously it's all people's own perceptions as well, and I think it does a very good job of sort of doing a general picture of what things were like. It was probably like worse times, and it probably moments that weren't so bad, but I think it does very well. And William Hartnell comes off as a very sympathetic character. It is a sad story. Because this rise to sort of fame as the Doctor, and then you just see that decline in him, and he wants to carry on.
The very last one, when you see that photo with Ben and Polly, and you just see how frail and old he looks.
Camp not Ben.
Camp not Ben.
The worst Ben.
As soon as he came out, I was like, that's not Ben.
Towards the end.
And he just looks so frail. But I mean, we see that sort of.
And then we talk about Part-Time Doctor in these last few stories that we've done. And it does sort of match up, doesn't it? And the emotion of doing the regeneration or having to do the regeneration. I was absolutely... So when we first watched it, at the very beginning of this film, where you see the police box and you see William Hartnell in the car, that's when I'm like, I have a moment. And I'm like, this is only the beginning. Do not cry right now. And then I'm fine throughout the whole thing.
And then it's when it repeats at
And
the
actually,
end.
when we were watching it this time, because I don't think I've actually watched this with anyone before.
No.
We had pizza and your kitten was running around quite a lot. So there was a few distractions going on.
Oh, she was being a dick.
And I was thinking, this isn't as emotional as I thought it was going to be, actually. And we were sort of watching it. And then that last 5 minutes, you have sort of three...
Well, she'd gone to sleep by then.
You have three hits. You have right at the end that get me. When he's crying at the fireplace, when he doesn't want to go with his wife, that is like, oh. Then the Matt Smith appearance.
Yeah.
Oh, and that was such a shock at the time.
Yeah,
that moment, like, because I watched this when it was on.
That's the very last moment.
And when I first watched that was just, and then actually. It always gets me every time when they do the real life photos next to the actor and it says at the caption at the end what happened to them and stuff.
Yeah.
That makes it even worse. That's the third hit for me and I'm completely gone by that point. That is, just show the photos with the writing and I'm just gone. I'm just gone.
What I really liked about the Matt Smith moment was it felt like up until that point was sort of, so he met the next Doctor.
Patrick Troughton, and that's not a great... That is a moment that brings me out of it, actually, because he's not as good as the actors. It doesn't recreate it as well for me,
but he's very sort of polite and like, you know, whatever. And then he's about to do his moment, and then you have the Matt Smith moment. And for me, watching it, it felt like a moment of him being quite proud and him maybe thinking of the future or what he started.
Yeah, it's him. He's looking up and being like, this thing carries on without me and it will continue to carry on.
Like, I am the start of this.
This is what I've done.
This is my legacy.
That's it. Legacy, that's the word, isn't it? This is my legacy. And it's still going on 50 years at the time.
Yeah.
And that's what Carol Ann Ford always says in interviews. She's like, he would be thrilled to know that it carries on. Yeah. And he always said that it would.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what he would make of some of the things that have happened.
Yeah.
Because I remember he died in the 70s, so that's when like the third Doctor was on, and I'm sure I read an interview, and it sounds like somebody talking about it now. He was like, "Oh, it's not like it used to be when I was playing it, and I don't like this and this and everything." But I think he still
so
appreciated
young.
it. Yeah, and you think that was 74, 75 when he
was,
died,
what, 60
something.
Yeah,
so when he
64,
started being the
65?
Doctor, early 50s, mid 50s, when he started playing the Doctor, he did, he had the wig and he was aged up, but I think he still looked quite old for his age, even without being dressed up as a Doctor. And I think people forget, people always think he's not that old when he plays the Doctor.
No. And I mean, we watch it and like recently and we're like, Doctor won't get through that tunnel. Doctor won't be climbing through.
Exactly.
Like, we watched that. I could not believe when they put how old he was when he died.
Yeah.
Couldn't believe it. Because I thought he'd be in like his 80s.
Yeah, exactly.
When he died.
Yeah.
When he died. And I thought watching it, he was maybe late 60s, early 70s. I genuinely thought like at least late 60s. At least. Couldn't believe it.
So
shock horror.
So he did carry on working a little bit after he left Doctor Who.
Yeah, they said that. Yeah.
And do you know what he did?
Go on.
And I was looking at this magazine about it. So he did Panto.
Of course.
So it was Puss in Boots. And I just want to read.
He didn't play Jack, did he?
No, he was like a cobbler or something. He was like I've got to show you this. And just read a little bit about, because there was newspaper articles. He did it at Southend in one of the things. Southend. There he is.
Oh, yeah.
So he went back and did it, and I just want to read out what he said. So this is an interview he did before he started playing about pantos.
Right.
Which is quite funny.
I love a panto, so...
Yeah, and I thought you'd like this, because you do love a panto, don't you? So this is what he said to a newspaper before he started doing the show. Pantomimes are wrong when they are set on the road with pop groups. I think that is a load of balderdash, poppycock and fiddlesticks.
Aww.
Pantos, strictly for children, as a production of Puss in Boots we're presenting, in Ipswich will be, any comedian who comes on and gives a selection of blue jokes and sex cracks is disgraceful. This isn't a sort of entertainment suitable for children, and this is where there is a great need of a censor in this business. I'm no old fogey who's a bit senile. I'm just adamant about the fact that Panto, aimed at children, isn't meant for all the filthy, dirty beasts and sex maniacs in this world.
I agree. I so agree.
When I read that, I was like, that's what you think.
I
you
so
and William
agree.
Hartnell have the same outlook on Panto.
I so agree. I get so annoyed about blue jokes in Panto.
So it got really bad reviews.
Oh.
It was like, everyone was like, oh, what is this? And I don't think it was great on stage. But also, just at the end of this article, this might change your view on William Hartnell. In 1996, Hartnell's granddaughter, Jessica Carney, revealed in her book that during the production, her grandfather acquired a new girlfriend from among the cast.
Oh.
Much to the disgust of his wife, Heather. The relationship ended as quickly as it had begun.
Oh, wow.
So, William Hartnell's still going.
We're still going. Young at heart.
In Puss in Boots. I don't think he did much other TV stuff or anything. I mean, that was one of his last things. But he couldn't do a week of Doctor Who solidly.
I can't believe he did Panto.
How is he going to do Panto 2 shows a day for however many weeks? Surely that is the worst decision to make.
Can I have my Panto rant? I think
it was cashing in on the whole Panto thing after.
I'm going to have a Panto rant. You get to have your...
It's nearly Christmas. Have a Panto rant.
Right. So, my big thing about, like, Panto, I friggin' love Panto. I think Panto is great. And I think for a lot of, like, kids and families, it's the first experience of theatre. Me and Mark both work in theatre. So, like, we've both experienced kids coming and like
we've experienced Puss in Boots, haven't we?
Yeah, and like raving about it's wonderful, and it's the excitement when the lights go down and they're screaming. It's just it's just brilliant, and it's lovely, and it's like fills your heart. But I do not get. I went to see a dress rehearsal of what was it?
Captain Hook. Treasure, Peter Pan.
Peter Pan. That was it. It was one of the big ones. I won't say which company. It was one of the big ones with David Hasselhoff in. And
everyone's going to know which one it is, man, anyway.
well, I won't say which company, but it had David Hasselhoff in. And there was obviously loads of blue jokes in it. And there was it was basically all adults I would say like 80% adults, 20% kids. And the adults were like absolutely crying their eyes out with laughter. And in front of me was like this kid who went, "Mummy, I don't get it." And the mum went, "Oh, I'll tell you when you're older." And I was like, that is the issue here. Like there should not be a thing where children come to see something and they don't understand the joke. Or the other issue is now kids are a lot more clued up and actually they do get the joke. And that's not appropriate. Why are we taking kids to something that is encouraging that sort of rude thing? That's another issue. They either laugh at something that they don't really understand that's rude, or they do get it. And why are we encouraging that? So that is my issue with Blue Panto. You can have a clean Panto that is just as fun and amazing, and actually adults love it just as much. Like, I've been to many Pantos that have no blue jokes. They're just as silly and stupid, and you laugh along because it is. Like, yeah. I hate Blue Panto.
Well, William Hartnell agrees with you.
Yeah, and that was like however long ago.
Ban the sex beasts with William Hartnell.
Honestly, like what was it? It was the moment where there were like these 4 dancers, and they were in like hardly any clothes. They were like in skimpy clothes, and they're supposed to be on a beach. And it was David Hasselhoff. Obviously, they were like taking advantage of the fact that he was in Baywatch, you know. And he's Captain Hook, and he's walking along, and he was like, "Oh, I love the sand," and he stares at the girl, "Boobies," and "I love the sea," and he stares at the next girl, "Boobies," and I was like, there's kids here, and they're going to do this in front of more kids. Like, what does this say and encourage? How can you? I just don't get it.
Yeah,
like,
if it was 1966, we would have gone to Southend, watched Puss in Boots with William Hartnell, and had a great time.
Yeah, and there's some amazing pantos that don't have that. And then you go to some of these bigger ones that you pay like through the nose for, and you have your kids being told that, you know, boobies are silly and funny, and have like these celebrities staring at them. I just think, what does that teach? It just really annoys me. You don't need it. It's just not needed when there's some wonderful things, like wonderful, amazing shows out there that don't do it. And you have a great time, and you still get your like stupid toys that you pay through the nose for that you never use again, that are shiny, and you get your ice cream and all that, and you make a mess. Like, it's great. So that's my blue rant on Panto.
There we go.
I friggin' love Panto, and you still got the over the top outfits. Yeah, with your dame.
Yeah.
So I love Panto though. I think it's like one of the best things. It sums up Christmas. I'm sad that it's not happening this year in a lot of places.
Yeah. It's a shame there's no like recording of William Hartnell's Puss in Boots. I would have loved to see what it was actually like. It'd be amazing to see something like that.
Would it?
Just to see. It might be a bit sad. I don't know, but
based on reviews, would it?
But as I say, like, he carried on working after.
Or based on the last Doctor Who, would it?
So, are there any sort of moments? Was that like the standout moment at the end? I mean, for me, it is. Was it nice to see? You know, Marco Polo was recreated, and like Reign of Terror, we saw a bit of that, and things like that. That was nice.
I enjoyed all those moments. I think I really loved them putting like the making of the TARDIS and like those key moments of that first sort of episode, but things like that. I really enjoyed the first episode bit, and I think the end. Oh, and I really, really liked Susan's leaving, and I don't mean that as it sounds.
You always love Susan's leaving. We love a good
I don't mean that
Susan
as it
leaving
sounds.
moment here.
But it was just
was
so
nice
well
moment.
done.
Yeah, he had the Robo Man there, and he was rude to the Robo Man, and then he sits there because he's in a mood because Carol Ann Ford's leaving. Yeah,
but it was just really touching, and you know, and like he was rude to her, and then he sent her flowers and stuff, you know.
Yeah,
and but it was just really. I mean, when we watched the episode, you felt that. And then the way it was done, you feel it. And it was just beautifully done. Because even then you're starting to see a little bit of a decline.
Well, yeah, even early on, because, I mean, you were saying, Edge of Destruction, you were like, are they sure they've got the right person for this? You said that.
Yeah.
In that episode, when there was a few lines here and there that he got mixed up, and they did the pilot episode again. They did that first one twice.
Yeah.
We didn't watch the pilot episode. We've never seen that one. It's slightly different. That exists.
Oh, okay.
And those moments where he, I don't know if you know, he drops his scarf, and they're like, "Oh, he's done that. We have to carry on." And that's in the actual. They've got the recording of that one.
Yeah. So I think I really, really like that. That was the other standout moment for me.
Oh, it would be so good to do more of it. Like if each Doctor had their own sort of making of. I think it's just nice to see those moments in colour. The Dalek the Daleks with Ian being.
But I think that's the difference. Though, for me,
for my side,
it was the Doctors.
They've got that, and they could recreate that in colour, and it would be amazing.
For you, it was about the Doctor, whereas for me, watching is like. I don't know, not watching with the same context, I guess.
Because I thought you'd be excited about seeing Susan and Barbara in colour recreated there.
Yeah, but they don't do well.
But they don't. Yeah, I suppose. I suppose that's true.
Sorry, love. We'll stop talking now before I say any more.
But it's so good, and if anyone hasn't seen it, well, just
why not?
I can't. Give it a go. I mean. I can't imagine any fans haven't seen this.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anybody that doesn't like it. I really don't. And the Daleks going across the bridge, Dalek Invasion of Earth.
That's great.
Stuff. Those iconic moments are all there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that rounds off our William Hartnell time.
Yeah. We move on.
Do you think it's sad? Is it... Are you excited for the next... Doctor?
I'm not excited. I'm just like...
I forgot to ask you as well. I don't think I asked you this last time.
Okay.
When we were going to watch the first Doctor, did you know that was William Hartnell and that's what he looked like? Do you know what the other Doctors look like? And if you saw a picture of an actor, you'd be like, oh, he played this Doctor. And
I don't...
Obviously, I'm guessing you don't know the order in which they appear and stuff.
And... I mean, actually, I'm looking to my left now.
I actually have a picture next to us of all the Doctors.
He's got a series of all the Doctors.
This hasn't been up before. This is my new soundproofing, so this is the worst time to ask you that. I was going to say, what do you know Patrick Troughton plays the second Doctor even?
No.
When he was there in that scene, we were like, oh, that must be... We haven't even talked about that yet, have we?
No, so I think I've seen enough pictures over time, but... I don't know any order. So I know Tom Baker. I've seen enough pictures over. Tom Baker has a whole career, and anytime he's on a chat show, they mention that he was Doctor Who, and they put a picture up of him as Doctor Who. Do you know what I mean? Or what's his name? Who's he?
Peter Davison.
Peter Davidson's another one.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Every time that he's on a chat show, they mention he's Doctor Who and put him up. Same as the current ones, David Tennant and Matt Smith.
Yeah.
It's just how it is. So I think, but I think I wouldn't, there's some I'm looking at now and I'm like, I haven't got a clue.
No, that's really exciting. That's what I like, because you don't know what the second Doctor's going to be like.
I have a clue.
You are having the closest sort of experience to a viewer in 1966, being like, what is happening? This face has changed.
With this, I'm not excited. I'm not apprehensive. I'm just like, let's see. In the same way that I have been for this whole thing. I'm just like, all right, well, let's see.
But isn't it like if I was like, oh, there's a new Poirot?
No, because there's only one Poirot for me.
Oh, yeah. No, but at the time, there's only one Doctor. So...
Yeah. But that's another thing. You're presuming in the 60s that people were excited about this. You don't know. People could have been apprehensive. People might not have been open to this idea. I mean, now we know that this works. Now when we know about a new Doctor, it's this change. It's a whole other thing. This is the first time this had ever happened.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think if this hadn't have worked out, they would have just stopped Doctor Who. It was a big risk at the time.
Yeah. So I think...
Which probably doesn't come through in this document, because it's quite... There was a lot of talking about it in the lead up to it. The hand in Celestial Toymaker was an idea,
Yeah.
And they knew from way back even then that something needed to happen.
Yeah. But then they don't need to, because we know as people that this is a thing. I mean, gosh, with Matt Smith right there in our current one, we know that he's not the only Doctor before. Yeah. So we know this is something that happens. And so I think every time there is a new Doctor, there's an excitement because it's a change, it's something new. And we know that as a series, it takes it somewhere different. I'm excited. What if you don't like a Doctor and we have to go through all of this Doctor's stories? Absolutely.
And you're going to be like, no.
But I'm not excited. Okay. I'm just like, well, we'll see.
Well, I'm excited.
You're excited, but like, I don't know. Maybe this is like what the 60s. You know more, and you've got a wider context. So maybe this is what it was like in the 60s. Like,
well,
I mean, they'll have known.
The newspaper and stuff. Like, there's going to be.
They knew that a new Doctor was coming, didn't they?
Yeah.
It wasn't like.
Well, that's the thing. It wasn't like massive news. I mean, I'm sure there's people that watched it that just saw what we did at the end of the 10th Planet and was like, "What's happening?" And it would have been if you read the newspaper or something.
Wouldn't it be amazing now? It will never happen. But if you were watching current Doctor Who, and she just changed to someone else, and there was
no news,
no press, nothing. Can you imagine if that happened?
Yeah. Imagine. Well, you're getting the closest experience because you didn't know necessarily at the end of the 10th Planet that would happen. No,
I knew at some point there would be a new Doctor.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. You can't really. There's so much new. It just wouldn't happen these days. You just can't do that these days.
No.
Which is why I suppose I didn't know Matt Smith turning up at the end of this, which is why for me that was such a big moment, because I don't think that was done sort of secretly.
Yeah.
And suddenly he's there, and that moment you're not expecting him to just be there in something like this right at the end. That's why it's such a big moment, because it is a shocking moment, and it just really wraps it up really well.
And I think as well, because William Hartnell, it was so obvious that it was a decline. I didn't know when it was going to happen, but I didn't expect it now to some extent. I thought it was going to be more towards the end of the season.
Yeah, so this is a brief pause in the middle of our season 4 stories. We've only just started season 4.
We've only had like two episodes of the current new people.
Yeah.
So yeah. Oh, well, there we go.
Great. Well, I'm glad we did that one. I don't think...
Yeah, I'm glad we did.
Cool, okay.
And on we go.
Patrick Troughton next week. It will all be about Patrick Troughton from now on.
Yeah. We'll see.
Used to, you'll know that name by the end of
it. That's it. This is like a new name.
You've only just learned Annika Wills and Michael Craze as the companions.
Michael Craze. Literally, I don't even know Michael Craze in my head.
We were watching something, you were like, who's Michael Craze? I was like, it's Ben.
I'll get Ben and Polly.
You know that, because you knew Jacqueline Hill and William Russell and...
Yeah, but that took me ages.
That took a while, yeah.
It's funny because you call them by the actor names.
Yeah. Well, you knew Peter Purves and Jackie Lane. It depends how much we talk about them.
You say Peter Purves quite a lot. I always call them by their character names.
Yeah.
Like, I would say 95% of the time, I use character names.
Yeah. It's strange, isn't it? It depends what we're talking about.
Maybe it's because you do conventions and stuff.
Yeah, maybe.
So you're more looking out for, like...
you have to know their names, yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay. Anyway, well, we'll see you next week for the continuation of Season 4, Power of the Daleks.
Where can you find us, Mark? And
you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at 2WatchWho. So we will see you then. Bye.
Bye.
2WatchWho. Hey, Doctor Who? What are you talking about?